This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Welcome to Hot Takes, where I respond to the hot takes left in the comment section throughout the week. We're going to go over some videos, some comments in those videos. First video we're going to be talking about is from the Browns winning breaks the national media's brains. A lot of interesting comments here. Christian says, it's crazy how Joe Burrow, Derrick Henry, Brock Purdy have the worst games of their pro career against the Cleveland Browns, but it was always due to some form of luck. The Texans are bad, the Titans are bad, and Derrick is washed, or Burrow is injured plus bad weather that the Browns miraculously avoided, or how the 49ers lost to 2 calls when Purdy was missing wide open throws due to the Browns living in the backfield rent free. Yeah, there's a lot of excuse making because nationally a lot of people didn't bet on this Browns team being as good as they are, and they did bet on some of these teams that they have beat to be better than them. And you know, when people are wrong at first, they're going to take a while to come around to it, but I think it's undeniable what the Browns have done. You want them to have been able to do this versus franchise quarterbacks. They've done it. You want them to do it against elite running backs. They've done it. You know, like what haven't they done that they will, what haven't they played against that they will see in the future? And people could point to, well, you just played Joe Burrow at the right time. Joe Burrow always looks like this versus the Browns. This was the worst version of it, but it wasn't a surprise when Joe Burrow played like that. So, you know, why is that being discounted? You can tell me that Brock Purdy didn't have all of these weapons or whatever, but then how are you going to tell me he's an MVP candidate when he can't live without his weapons? Most valuable player, not most valuable player when he has this person. Right? Like, that's not what the MVP is. It's the most valuable player. So if you're saying that man's in the MVP conversation and the Browns shut him down, I don't care who was or was not there. Unless you really don't think he's an MVP candidate, then just say that. You know, it's Derrick Henry. People were telling me he's washed because of that game when the Browns played him. Maybe the Browns don't just beat teams because those teams are bad. Maybe the Browns are just good. Who knows, right? Who knows? But yeah, it's been a weird one where with people trying to cope around that one. Brian Thompson, the Brock Purdy thing is hilarious. Isn't George Kittle all pro? Hasn't Ayuk been playing at a Pro Bowl level this year? The Browns defense shut them down yesterday. End of story. I mean, it should be, but you know, I've seen people talk about how like, oh man, look how much it took for the Browns to be able to beat Brock Purdy. Everything had to go right for them as we played with PJ Walker and without Nick Chubb and without our starting guard versus Javon Hargraves, who was minimized in that game. And you had Nick Bosa and you had a healthy defense. Like, yeah, everything went right for the Cleveland Browns and everything went wrong for the 49ers. Things went wrong for both teams, but the best team won that game, no doubt. Jayon has this one. He says, I will be fair. There are plenty of people trying to write him off, Brock Purdy, after this game. Crazy thing is Purdy played well enough to win. I'll disagree with that. He didn't. If he played well enough to win, he would have won. And it wouldn't have come down to a game-winning field goal because, again, one team was playing with a full deck or closer to a full deck than the other. Brock Purdy being in position to kick a field goal to squeak out of Cleveland with the victory is not playing well enough to win. It's playing well enough to get away with it. But that's not what you're implying there when you say playing well enough to win. Because even if he would have won that game, he would have won it only because the Cleveland Browns were playing without a full deck. And much less of a full deck than what the 49ers are. And look, I'm not writing Purdy off after this, but I am saying like there is a trend of him not playing as well when he goes against elite defensive lines. Definitely missed a couple of big throws, but when the chips were on the table, he drove them down the field and got in position to win. I think that's overrated, but you have your point there. I don't know if I'm cutting him slack, but rather trying to be fair. He played beneath his standard. He will bounce back. I think he's a franchise QB. I don't know about MVP candidate though. No, he's not an MVP candidate. That was a ridiculous notion to begin with. Franchise quarterback, we'll see, man. He's played like 11 NFL games. We just gotta wait. Like, we didn't know about Brady for like 4 or 5 years. We don't know if somebody's going to be exactly who they are for like at least 2 years. He's had 10 games. Let's wait. There's no reason to rush on a Brock Purdy decision because everybody seems like they're going to be a franchise, championship level quarterback when they first start. And that's how we felt about Baker Mayfield. And then we saw the ceiling on that. That's how the Cowboys felt about Dak. And then they saw the ceiling on that. That's how the Vikings felt about Kirk Cousins at a point in time, right? Like it's real easy to tell yourself that the line's always going to go up early in a quarterback's career, but you really don't know where that line points to until you get to like their third, fourth year in your offense for real. Brian Thompson says the Brock Purdy thing is hilarious. Oh yeah, I already did that one, right? Let's go to the next video. The Browns defense is historic. They're on a crazy pace. Imagine what those defensive stats would look like if Nick Chubb was still out there picking up first downs and killing the clock. Yeah. It's unfortunate. Parrish. Robert says the Browns' turnover margin is being slightly blown out of proportion. 5 of 7 of the INTs thrown came in the last 2 games from your 2 backups, and 3 of the fumbles came against the Steelers after Nick Chubb went out. The defense had faced the fewest plays out of every team, so that means fewer opportunities to get turnovers. I mean, when Watson gets back, we will see a better offense, and then the NFL better watch out. Okay, I think you're minimizing the turnovers a little bit here. I'm not going to lie. Because you can say something like, well, 3 of the fumbles came after Nick Chubb went out, but then show me who did the fumbling. Because I don't think it was Jerome Ford. I think it was one of them was Jerome Ford in that game. And it also kind of minimizes the fact that Deshaun Watson has been as big of a part of this turnover margin as anybody. You can point to 5 of the 7 interceptions being thrown, being backup quarterbacks, but 2 of them are Deshaun Watson. Multiple of the fumbles are Deshaun Watson. Like, Deshaun's done his fair share of turning this ball over or putting the ball in position to be turned over. So it's not just magic, clear cut. Let's plug Deshaun in there. Turnovers, no more worry. We have to see Deshaun execute at a level that makes us feel like he's not going to turn the ball over as well, because he's been not great at stopping these turnovers, not great at not getting sacked. So those have been stuff that we wanted him to fix when he was out there. We can't just forget that because he hasn't played in a couple weeks. Andrew Berry deserves his respect. KRTASF says Andrew Berry is a top 10 5 GM. In my opinion, he never accepts a weakness, but doesn't completely burn draft capital like the Bears did for Chase Claypool. Even if Watson turns out to be a complete bust, it's still a great trade because we took a swing on young talent and the Browns had the best offseason in the NFL. I wouldn't say even if Watson turns a bust, it's a great trade. I will say right now, it looks like even if you don't get what you hoped out of Watson, you didn't really hurt yourself by trading for him because you have gotten first round talent in the drafts that you did not have first round picks. What do I mean by that? Martin Emerson, if you drafted Martin Emerson in the first round and he turned into the player that he has, you would feel justified in that first round pick. If you drafted DeJuan Jones in the first round and he turned out to be who he's been so far, you would be satisfied with that pick if it was a first round pick. The fact that they were 3rd or 4th round picks after the day of the draft really doesn't matter anymore. You got first round production out of those guys. So yeah, you didn't have first round picks that year, but a lot of teams have first round picks, don't get first round production out of their first round picks. You got first round production out of 2 picks without a first round pick. So even if you miss on this entire next draft and you don't get anybody, you got 2 out of 3. And that's not the average, right? That's above average, getting 2 out of 3, quality starters, really good starters out of a draft, especially when you consider they ain't have a first round pick. So that kind of makes the trade and the draft picks that you gave up less relevant. If you ride this thing out with Deshaun and it turns out that Deshaun's not going to be what you wanted him to be, you have to remember you only have 1 year left of losing first round picks. So after this season, and we know that the Browns defense is good enough to where we're not going to have a top pick. So after this season, you have your first round picks back. So let's say after this season, we decide, all right, this Deshaun thing isn't what we thought it was going to be. Okay. You're in a position to where the next season, if you are bad enough to draft the quarterback, you can simply draft the quarterback, even if you're paying Deshaun Watson, because that quarterback will be on his rookie deal and you won't really have to worry about the cap number. So the best thing about that trade is that it didn't set you back. Like, even if Deshaun, like right now, does not turn into what you want him to be, the trade didn't set you back. Now, a trade that did set a team back is the Broncos, because they didn't just trade a couple first round picks. They traded players and they traded another first round pick to get the coach who's going to tear it all down and restart. So yeah, even if this Watson thing doesn't work, I don't think it's a great trade. It's a trade I don't have a problem with because, one, this franchise has sucked at quarterback mainly because they have refused to take aggressive shots at fixing the position. So even if you do a wrong swing, I'm all for being aggressive and trying to take care of the problem. They did that. I have no problem with missing, right? If I want you to be aggressive, I have to accept that you're going to miss. If I don't want you to be aggressive, I have to accept that the quarterback's going to be what it's been the last 20 years, and we're going to draft 3rd round picks, late 1st round guys, and we're going to suck at quarterback for 20 years. I don't want that, so I'm willing to accept the risk of being aggressive to get quarterbacks, and that risk is you're going to have to trade. You're going to have to draft these guys early on, and taking Baker Mayfield, swinging and missing on that. Okay, I'm fine with that, because at least you took your swing at quarterback and you saw how that gave this organization a chance to stabilize itself. And they have been pretty stable since 2018. Then you take a swing at Watson. If that works out, great. If it doesn't, still, we have been stable. We've had an opportunity to stabilize ourselves because we've taken these real swings at quarterback, and I'm all for that. And again, even if it doesn't work out, you got 1st round talent out of the last 2 drafts. So losing those 1st round picks really didn't hurt you from a talent perspective. And also, you've been able to influx this team with young talent as well, like guys like Obo, getting Elijah Moore. You've been able to keep the talent faucet coming into this team. And then if it doesn't work out next season, you have your 1st round picks back. So if you do need to make a move at quarterback, you have the option of the draft available to you. So it really doesn't set you back. That's why I say good trade. You can't make it a good trade if Watson doesn't turn out to be good, but you can make it a trade that doesn't set you back. And that's 100% fine. Like, if it's just a neutral, it's all right. And it's on track to be at worst neutral for this team. Cam says, interesting, unrelated fact. Browns fans just did some quick looking. The Browns defense through 5 games has given up 7 drives that went 50 yards or plus. In week 1, the Chargers Dolphins offense had 6 drives of 50 plus in one game, 3-2 through the toughest part of the schedule. And they're -8 in turnover margin. If they clean that up, the season's going to be fun. I would agree. All right. Film breakdown on the Browns defense. Nothing beats the morning QSPN notification from 422. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to the whole QSPN game. I got to get some merch on that. I got to get some merch ready for that. I think a QSCN hoodie is on its way for the winter time. I got to get working on that merch. Q, I don't even think the defense is even close to peaking. It sounds crazy. I think we could see this defense go to another level. You know, I think about that too. And I would agree. I think this defense can get so much better, especially in the back end with Greg and Martin. I think they could play better football than what they have the last couple of games that they've been out there. Yeah, I think there's room for this defense to be even better. The next video is I got the Browns nickname for the defense with my guy G Bush. Troy Stevenson says, you guys are right. The Browns confidence is contagious. It started with Jim Schwartz and now it's flowing. This team goes to another level when they get that turnover differential dealt with. However, hopefully this is the game where we go 3+. I would love that. Yeah, the confidence is really what is contagious about this team and especially this defensive unit. They're just operating. And look, this is why I say, and I even said this to Jake, I think when we were talking about it, where you can go through each team and be like, well, actually, it wasn't that impressive because you did that and that, and this happened and this broke your way. And I after a while, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that for 5 games, they played excellent football. And now they have the ultimate confidence in themselves and the ultimate confidence in their defensive coordinator, and the buy-in is 100%. A lot of the most difficult parts of coaching in the NFL, at least, is getting guys to listen to you. It's not like being a genius. It's not being the smartest guy in the room. It's just being able to get guys to listen to you. Jim Schwartz has this team's undivided attention right now. And they are executing to back that up. And execution creates great coaches, because now that they're executing, they're listening. And now that they're listening, you can do more stuff. That's what's so special about the confidence here, right? When an offense or defense is not executing at a high level, they're not confident, and they're not confident in what the coaches are telling them to do, you get what happened last year. Confidence makes a world of difference. Makes a world of difference, because this year, same core, different pieces in between, but same core, it couldn't be a world's difference. They were historically bad run defense last year. They're like the best in the NFL right now. Donovan Rosette says, Quincy, is G Bush really like 6'5", like he says? I'll put it like this. I've seen that man dap up Myles Garrett and look him eye to eye. I don't know if y'all don't believe G when he says this, but I've seen him at camp. I was with him, standing right next to him. He dapped up Myles Garrett, looked him eye to eye. When I dap up Myles Garrett, it don't look like that. Okay? Like, I got to get on my tippy toes to get to like his chest because Myles is giant. G was dapping him up and looking at him eye to eye. You know what I mean? That's it. That's just G actually. G is the size that he is listed. I don't know why people do give G all this like fluff about how tall he is. You can look this up. The man played football at a major university. Like, he's listed. This is not a mystery. But yeah, G's legitimately like 6'5". He's probably a little taller than that, but I saw him in shoes, so he probably was taller because of the shoes. But yeah, the man is the height that he claims. But y'all have a great day. Have an even better night.